and welcome to Second Edition. I'm Dawson Patrician.
And I'm Emmanuel Osamudiaman.
Today we are looking at a new way restaurants are treating restaurant goers to quality food right in their homes. And as the harsh cold of winter sets in, students are forced to hunker down and stock up for the winter. But that may not really be the case.
Plus, some tasty ways to keep yourself busy in this pandemic.
The Edmonton Police Service's Diversion First program continues to grow at an impressive rate as kids and adults work together to reduce youth crime. Sergeant Kendall Booth has pioneered the program since its pilot in September of 2018 and has shown substantial growth since then. Over the course of the last 2 years, the program has recruited over 250 members. Booth says that getting families involved is key.
So for us, we find a lot of times it's not just the youth behavior, but we need to support the parents or the guardians as well. So that's something we definitely look into and ask questions about throughout our intake process.
EPS is also partnering with the YMCA in this project in order to customize plans and hold youth accountable.
The Edmonton Food Bank is having a fun holiday to keep the holiday spirit thriving called Share a Holiday 50/50. As a result of the pandemic, the need of food in Edmonton has increased. Share a Holiday 50/50 is a raffle draw. Every amount you donate goes to providing several families with meals and gives you a chance to win some cash.
It's a fundraiser in support of the food bank because despite what people think, we actually receive no core funding from any level of government to operate. So we have to fundraise, food raise, and friend raise on our own to make sure the lights stay on, the coolers are operating, our phone lines are answered, and our trucks are on the road. So funds like that help us do our work.
The event ends December 31st, and the food bank hopes to continue to spread cheer with this event.
The manager of a local grocery store is encouraging people to not panic buy and purchase only the products they need. Since the pandemic started in March, some shelves in grocery stores have been bare with people bulk buying products like toilet paper, whether they needed it or not. Some grocery stores are now limiting what people can buy. Tom Vesley, the manager of Sobeys in Westlock, is asking his shoppers to stick to what they need.
Any item that's been identified as a potential short from the manufacturer, we've put some type of limit on it. So for example, toilet paper, limit of 1. Paper towels, limit of 1, until the supply community can fill the pipeline.
Vesley says his store is also limiting 1 box of Kleenex per customer. Earlier in the pandemic, they put limits on flour, sugar, and yeast, but have since lifted those limits.
Nate's on-campus restaurant, Ernest, is introducing virtual culinary classes as a platform for people to interact while in a pandemic. Despite the challenges of social distancing, this student-based restaurant has found an interactive way to provide a safe space for people to gather and be merry as we enter into the holidays.
We design food packets that we send out to the clients and then give them a WebEx link to follow along and do the class alongside of us. They generally run for about 2 hours, and we are currently doing a schedule once a month, plus we're doing additional ones for different companies and stuff that we would normally do.
Ernest hopes to increase the number of classes, and the next class will take place on December 10th.
Nate's International Center does everything they can to help students thrive. Despite this pandemic, this year is no different.
Our own Zachary Marks had a chance to talk with Freya Fung, the International Engagement Coordinator, to see how their programs have changed.
Thanks, guys. The International Center here at NAIT has plenty of support networks to help international students grow accustomed to life here in Canada, especially with schooling and just getting used to the city. Today, I talked with Freya Fu, the International Engagement Coordinator at NAIT, to discuss how the operations of the International Center have changed during these times.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Freya. So I guess just to start off, what is the primary goal of the International Center?
It is I have to say it is in a normal time when it's not COVID. It is more a physical space where students can come in and not only as a hangout and social place, but we host a lot of community events and initiatives, and as well as different kinds of services for international and students who are new to Canada for their adaptation into living and learning in Canada.
Okay. So how has the pandemic affected what you can do for the international students specifically? Because not many of us are on campus.
Yeah, I think this definitely is, it does have a similar major impact that we cannot do things in person anymore, which definitely has made it even harder for students who are first place not familiar with the area or the, just being in Canada, being in Edmonton physically. So it has a big challenge. It has created a big barrier, an even bigger barrier for those who are transitioning in terms of like cultural adaptation. So then we are no longer able to run events and programs in person, which is similar across the board at NAIT and most of the higher education institutions. So it does feel more distanced with the community, whether from a staff perspective, myself, or all the feedback that I've heard from students through like some of the online engagements and conversations and feedback. Yeah.
Have you noticed that the number of students using the services the International Center provides has gone up or down, especially this semester compared to, say, this time last year?
It definitely has gone down. It is, I think I've talked to a few colleagues, whether it's within NAIT or others who in higher ed, but other schools, it has been very difficult to engage online.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Freya. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
For Second Edition News, I'm Zach Marks.
The holidays are a joyful time of year, but for some people it has had the opposite effect on them.
Our Austin De Leon talks to NAIT student counselor Karen Anderson to get the best tips to help students stay positive and healthy during the holidays.
Thanks, guys. For most, the holidays are a time of joy and peace and pure love, but for some people, the holidays can be the toughest time of the year. Today, I speak with Karen Anderson, a NAIT student counselor at NAIT, for the best tips and tricks to stay healthy during this holiday season. So, first question, Karen. What do you think causes people to become more depressed and feel a little more sad during the holiday season? What is your take on that?
Sure. The holidays can be a pretty stressful time. Everybody's really busy, kind of preparing for it, often working right up until before the holidays. There's lots of different events and kind of being pulled in a lot of different directions. Sometimes it can be about being isolated from family, but it might also about being about kind of bringing unwelcome guests. So there's lots of pressures that come with being a host, and so there's kind of two sides to that. There might be some of that social isolation, but it might also be kind of some of those unrealistic expectations that maybe others are having of us or that we place on ourselves to have the Christmas holidays kind of be this perfect time when we have the perfect dinner. So there are different things that can contribute to the stress and some of those depressive symptoms.
What are some healthy tips and tricks that students can practice at home to help them be more positive and healthy during the break?
I think a really big one is being realistic and kind of reminding ourselves the holidays don't have to be perfect. We don't always have to meet everybody's expectations and demands. We can start to maybe create our own traditions and ways of doing things around the holidays if people are living away from home. So kind of planning something special that's sort of a new tradition can be a good way of coping with maybe some of that loneliness, but also some of those, again, unrealistic expectations. Reaching out, so finding different ways of reaching out if you are feeling isolated. Acknowledging our feelings and kind of sitting with them for a little bit, not to the point where it's becoming distressing, but understanding why we might be feeling this way versus kind of maybe suppressing them or avoiding them and not necessarily dealing with them, but taking that time to, it's okay to cry and understanding that there is a lot of pressure.
Thank you, Karen, for that. And thank you. I'm Austin DeLeon, 2nd edition.
With the new restrictions on public gathering, meeting people has become very difficult.
Josh Horlick caught up with the dating coach to get some tips and tricks for dating during the pandemic.
Thanks, guys. So today I'm joined by dating coach and matchmaker Denise Christopher here to give some tips and advice on meeting new people and dating during the COVID-19 pandemic.
So I'm Denise Christopher, based in Calgary, Alberta, and I've been a love coach for, crikey, maybe about 10 years now, close to over 10 years.
How have you found that the pandemic has affected dating and how people are meeting now compared to before?
Well, so what I'm hearing is that it is challenging. On one hand, I'm hearing that it's challenging because, of course, we aren't able to be going out and be as social as we have been.
Yeah, just off that kind of, yeah, I know there's Tinder, there's Bumble, there's all those. Are there any kind of sites that you'd recommend as being better? Or
not really, because when I do my coaching really is about the individual themselves. I don't really focus on how to. So even for me to say what would be a great site for you, that site, the site that's going to be the best for you is the one that you're most successful on, period, right?
Yeah. And then kind of any advice you'd have for people to interact now with the new COVID restrictions, just because you can't really go out to dinner or bars or anything like that? Like you'd mentioned, the video chats and all that, but...
Yes, when I said get creative, I know that some of my clients are saying, oh yes, I had an online date with someone that I connected with online, and we sat down and I had my dinner, he had his dinner, and we sat down and had dinner together. Yeah. Or the individuals that have watched movies together, and you're ready, start now, right? And have that connection and conversation about dinner afterwards.
Maintaining relationships now with the limited in-person contact. Any advice on that? Some sort of tips to maintaining what you already have, or?
Well, it's coming down to communication. That's what it's about, right? So, as I was saying, things have slowed down. People are finding they're spending more time doing video dates, text messages, email messages, phone calls, and it's more about that communication.
Thank you so much, Denise, for all your tips. This has been Josh Arlak, 2nd edition News.
Thank you for those great tips, Josh.
After the break, we'll be creating an easy meal perfect for snacking while at home.
I'm so bored.
You look bored. Welcome to nr92.com and listen to our radio dramas.
Sweet.
Stay home and stay entertained with nr92.com.
You don't have to be on campus to connect. nr92.com. Stay connected, stay safe.
nr92.com. More than music.
Stay home, stay tuned. nr92.com. Campus Radio. Check out our Instagram. Come hang out virtually with our hosts.
Ugh, I'm so bored.
Hey man, you look bored. Head to nr92.com and listen to our radio dramas.
Sweet.
Stay home, stay entertained with nr92.com.
Welcome back to 2nd edition, and it's time to head into the kitchen.
We join our own Sarah Hunter, who's going to teach us how to make a flavorful dish while working into your meal plan.
Thanks, guys. Today I'm going to show you how to make tacos in a bag. It's a cheap meal that will leave you feeling full. It's also a personal favorite of mine. Can you hurry up already? I'm hungry. I still have to cook the meat. Well, hurry it up. Quit talking. Let's go. Get a move on. Sorry about that, guys. Seems my hunger is talking. We should probably get cooking though. So to start, we're gonna start with the ground beef. We're also gonna use our onions. I've gone ahead and I've chopped them in advance just to save on some time. You'll also need a big enough pan to cook it in, as well as a spatula or a spoon just to help with the mixing. We'll start by giving our pan a little spray with some oil and proceeding to turn the burner on to a medium-high heat. Next, we'll add our ground beef. Make sure to break it up a bit with your spatula. Today we're cooking enough for a family, so if you want a single portion, go ahead and half the recipe. But I'll warn you, the leftovers work awesome for meal prep. Next, we'll add our diced white onion. Make sure not to leave any in the bowl. Once your onions are added, make sure to give it a good mix. As the ground beef's cooking, you can go ahead and grab any of your ingredients that you want to help build your taco in a bag, but please make sure to keep an eye on your ground beef. I've gone ahead and I've already prepared my tomatoes in advance, and I've also washed and cut my lettuce as well. Now that we have everything out, we'll continue once our ground beef's done. You'll know your beef is done cooking when it's a nice even brown color. There should be no red. Once your meat is fully cooked, turn the stove off and carefully drain the grease. I'm using a lid to help drain it into a pop can that I cut the lid off earlier. Don't forget to wipe the bottom of your pan when you're done. Now that our ground beef is all drained, it's time to start with our other ingredients, the spices. For our recipe today, I'll be using Old El Paso taco seasoning, so I'll be following the package. Go ahead and add the taco seasoning and water, then give it a good mix. Next is an optional step, but if you want to make it spicy, add some chili flakes. I prefer it sweeter, so I'm adding ketchup. I usually just eyeball it and then give it a taste to see if I need to add more. Make sure to keep mixing until it's all combined. Then, when you're done mixing, it's time to move on to the next step. Once you're sure that your meat is all cooked, you can go ahead and turn off your stove and you can move it on to the side. Now, we can start building the tacos in a bag. You'll start by opening your chip bag and lightly crushing them. Next, you'll add your beef. Then, make sure to add all your favorite toppings, but leave some room, because next, we're closing it up and shaking it. Okay. Once you got everything shaken up, you can go ahead, grab a spoon or a fork, and dig in. I hope you guys enjoy the recipe. Make sure to tag us at Nate Second Edition on Instagram, or use the hashtag Second Edition Tacos to let us know what you think about tacos in a bag. I'm Sarah Hunter, Second Edition News. I know you took the chips. Just keep smiling.
Thank you, Sarah, for that tasty segment. What an episode. Feels good to get another one under the belt.
I'm sure we'll be cooking up another great episode next week. See you then.